Hello, everybody, and once again, welcome to a Friday afternoon of world-class thoroughbred action, and welcome to Gulfstream today. Track announcer Pete Aiello, joined by Acacia Courtney. 9 races on the program this Friday afternoon with a carryover in the Rainbow Six, a fast main track, and a firm turf.
It should be a really fun Friday. Here we have 9 races, as you said. 1:15 is our first post time today, and many wagering options for you to get in on, Pete.
Indeed, and we started off with race number 1 with the rolling super high 5 wager. As you're probably familiar with by now, if we have more than 7 horses in the race, you will have opportunity to play the super high 5. So race 1 has 7 horses in it, so you can enjoy the high 5. You can also enjoy the early pick 5 with a little help courtesy of my co-host.
50-cent wager starts in race number 1, the early pick 5. I'll have a ticket to show you there.
Rainbow Six this afternoon begins on race number 4 with the 9-race format. Your carryover is $24,496. Yesterday afternoon, we had a potential for a pick 5 carryover as well, but the only horse who was covered was the winner in the final race.
A big payout yesterday in the late pick 5. So congratulations if you managed to hit that, and certainly helped you get ready to get back on into all the exciting bets we have to offer today.
Yeah, the late pick 5 begins on race number 5 here this afternoon. As always, it's a 50-cent wager. We're 57 minutes away from our opening contest. We're going to take you through the 9-race program now with race number 1 on turf at 1 mile. The turf course is firm. These are claimers in for a claiming price of $16,000. They've not won 2. Competitive field to start the afternoon. The current favorite is number 1, Magnanimous Mine, making his second start back from New Jersey on a major class drop.
Well, this race was a little bit of a puzzle for me. I'll show you my early pick 5 ticket before we dive in. I did go 3 deep in here, including that number 1, Magnanimous Mine. Also used the 3, Jacala, and the 4, Felafran, and we'll talk about those. 2 deep in the 3 middle legs and 4 deep in the 5th race for $48. I thought there were some pretty competitive, pretty evenly matched races on the card here today, so wasn't able to narrow in on just one horse for my ticket. As I said, went 3 deep in this opener.
Yeah, I understand going 3 deep in the opener. I think many people's single will lie in the second race with number 6, Ranger in Paradise, who just beat a better field than he faces here today, and he has an outside gate. Like the strategy of trying to beat him, however, that's how the big payoffs come into play.
Yeah, I'm actually going to try and see if I can beat him in my ticket, but as we said, we start right here with race number 1. You mentioned that number 1, Magnanimous Mine. I think he's going to be the speed, one of the speed in here, perhaps even the main coming from the rail in this race. I went with the number 4, Felafran on top, who cut back in distance last time out after a bit of a freshening and coming back over for the first start at Gulfstream Park in quite a while. Had a couple of races up at Belmont against tougher allowance company, came back, ran at this 16 non-winner of 2 level last time and cut back to 7.5 furlongs. Finished a good second that day behind a repeat winner named Shatino. Want to go back and show you that race and see how far back Felafran was at the start and how much ground he ended up making up. He was the number 7 that day. So breaks coming out of the gate a little bit slowly, though he's usually pretty far behind the field. He's very far back at the start. He sees the number 7 in the green colors going on the outside there, and he just makes up a lot of ground. He was a clear second behind Shatino, who didn't really have as much work to do in this race. He's the gray here. He's going to go on to win. Felafran, much the best of the rest. I liked the way that he was moving in the stretch here. Again, I don't think the winner had as much to do. He went on to win again, so a very solid horse there that he was running up against.
Yeah, this is not the same racehorse that's graded stakes placed in the Palm Beach of 2015, but he is certainly good enough to win this race as long as he doesn't bounce off of that good effort last time out. He will be a victim of the pace, but I think Felafran's class will definitely make him a big contender.
And as I said, he was very far back last time. He will have the speed of Magnanimous Mine ahead of him, who gets a notable jockey change to Tyler Gaffleone, who's been having a great meet. He's going to drop in class as well. He ran against $30,000 types last time and finished a solid 6th, I thought, there in that performance. I think that he's a little bit better placed in here.
Yeah, I think so. And number 3, Jacala, is an interesting use in this race under jockey Cornelio Velasquez. His maiden win was actually pretty good. He just has struggled since then.
And he's adding the blinkers on today. He showed some speed in his maiden win, so I think maybe with the addition of the blinkers, he might actually go up and run with Magnanimous Mine a bit. My thought is helping Felafran out a bit there.
Certainly possible. 3 deep to start the early pick 5 for Acacia. We'll turn now to the second race, which starts the 50-cent early pick 4. As mentioned, this race will probably have a lot of people singling number 6, Ranger in Paradise. We're at the $30,000 claiming level for horses which have not won 2 or 3-year-olds. Of course, Ranger in Paradise has won 2, but he is a 3-year-old, so he fits the conditions very well in this race. And he also beat a much better field than he faces here today. He beat Tenango last time out and did it pretty easily. If he runs that race, they will not beat him.
Well, that is all of the reasons that I put him on top. This is the reason I didn't single him in my pick 5. I want to show you a trainer stat on trainer Angel M. Rodriguez in the past 5 years with horses that won last time out on the dirt. Just 1 for 22, 5%, 6 for 22, 27% in the money, and just a 26-cent ROI. This is not what I was expecting. I was very surprised by this. Obviously have to have some reservations with a barn that maybe can't always get a horse to win next time out. That being said, these connections so often place horses where they can win. He has the highest last out buyer. He earned an 82 for that performance. As you said, if he runs that type of race again, then yes, he's going to be the one to beat in here. But of course, there were a little bit of reservations.
Yeah, I can certainly appreciate the reservations looking at that statistic. The thing about Ranger in Paradise is on form, you see that he beat allowance optional claiming 16. And you go, wait, he's going from 16 to 30. He's stepping up. Oh, no, no, no. The A other than and 16 wide open conditions here in South Florida, substantially tougher. This is where following this circuit on a regular basis can help you out.
Absolutely, and I agree with you. I think he beat a better field last time out. The horse that I think might be the main threat to him is the number 2, Big Boy Bruno, who's now 3rd off a layoff. He won by 5 coming off of that 9-month or so break. Definitely seemed to bounce last time out. A pretty abysmal performance behind the aforementioned Ranger in Paradise. If he's able to come back and rebound off of that performance, now 3rd off the layoff, he might be a little bit of a threat. Again, Ranger in Paradise, the one to beat, though.
I didn't know the word abysmal was allowed to be used. I love that. Thank you for setting the tone. An abysmal performance. I like that. We'll turn now to the third race. Third race is on turf, 7.5 furlongs, an allowance optional claiming event for 2-year-old fillies. Now, this race has a horse in it, a couple horses in here that have gone 2 turns, including Martha's Valentine, who ran excellent when racing against the boys last time out against winners, and then 7 Shack Up, who beat Maidens going 2 turns. A couple of horses that we like in this race, however, have never been 2 turns.
This will be the 2-turn debut for the number 3, Queen del Valet, who has been perfect since moving over to the turf. She won as the odds-on favorite last time out. She actually finished ahead 2 back of a couple other horses in this field, including Foxy Joxy and Shack Up, both of whom went on to win their next races. So certainly coming out of a bit of a key one there. She backed up that nearly 7-length maiden win with a 2 3/4 odds-on favorite win last time out against winners. So she's stretching out, yes, but I want to go back and show her last race and show her performance and show how she ran. She was the number 5 there that day. She was pretty much step for step with Ocandrita right there, who you'll see tried to re-break at one point. It looks like the 3 Ocandrita is going to try and come back. Then Queen del Valet just ends up pulling away. Very impressive in this. Kind of handridden as she gets down. That didn't even need to go to the whip again. That was Edgar Zayas, who's ridden her in all of her turf starts and will stay aboard today.
I don't think she gets 2 turns, just my opinion, but she did not even on that backtrack look like a horse that wants to go 2 turns and do it effectively. Now, let's show you a horse that you can draw your own conclusions again. Maybe she's a 1-run sprinter, but take a look at the debut run from number 1, Deputy Dora. Look where she is. She's well behind here, and at no point until you get to about 40 yards before the wire do you even think she has a prayer. She's not in the screen here. Great job by Lance by highlighting the trackus because you can't see her. Where's Deputy Dora? Where's Deputy Dora? Where's Deputy Dora? She's still not in the frame. Now here she comes like an express train getting up to win it. And oh, by the way, she's 67 to 1 to do it. I don't think an added real estate type trip will hurt her. The key question is, can she bring that race to the table, and can she do it against winners today?
And she has the rail here. She's probably going to be pretty far back once again, but sometimes you don't know if horses are making their debut race. They've never been on the track before. If they break a bit slowly and they are further back, sometimes that can just be chalked up to inexperience, confusion about what's happening. It's all very new experience. Maybe she has some experience under her belt. She's going to stretch out and try the 2 turns today. I agree. I thought that was an incredibly impressive performance. She's 1 of 2 for Larry Bates in here. He also has the number 2, Foxy Joxy, who, as I mentioned, finished a couple starts back behind Queen de Valet and most recently behind her as well. The other horse that I used was one that I'm thinking is eligible to improve, and that's the 6 Music Makes Sense, who made up quite a bit of ground last time out in her turf debut. She broke her maiden very impressively by 8 lengths on a sloppy track. They tried her in the Cassidy Stake next time out. She was pretty well beaten in there, maybe just a bit over her head, maybe a bit too soon. Tried the turf. She finished a very good 3rd last time out against pretty tough competition.
Yeah, well, I guess she's a fringe player. I think you ignore Martha's Valentine at your own peril here. She was second against the boys behind Taco. She made a long, sustained run from the back, and then Taco just drew away and won for fun. Now, Taco's yet to get beat either, so certainly nothing wrong with that performance from Martha's Valentine. Now she gets to run against the girls at this 2-turn trip. She does have a lot of things in her corner under Luca Panici. We're going to take a brief timeout. We'll be back with more great racing action from Gulfstream, including the Rainbow Six, right after this.
Next January, 12 horses, $1 million buy-in for a $12 million purse. It is the world's richest race. It is the Pegasus World Cup.
And we're back now with a preview of the Rainbow Six sequence on a Friday afternoon from Gulfstream Park. Track announcer Pete Aiello, joined by Acacia Courtney. We're up to race number 4 now. Race 4 has a field of horses that have one thing in common. None of them have ever raced. First-time starters to choose from in race number 4 to start the Rainbow Six.
An interesting way to kick it off. We'll let you see my ticket. I did just go too deep in here because I felt I needed to go a little bit deeper in a couple other races. $51.20 for me. I used the 2 Comeback Moment and the 3 To Be Discreet, who's from a barn that's not known for first-time starters or for even winners, but just this horse has an incredible work tab. So really interesting to see how this first race shakes out in here. I went 4 deep in the 5th race and in the 9th race, which is a very solid race to close out the day.
Well, this race does have a scratch in it, scratch number 5, another indelible, so we're just working with a field of 5 in here. You already touched on some chinks in the armor to your top play, To Be Discreet. She's working well, but why is she debuting on the bottom? And she's coming from connections that we really haven't seen a lot from.
Yes, Alexis Lopez Cordero is the trainer, 0 for 15 at Gulfstream for this meet so far. But as I mentioned, the work tab on this horse, primarily the most recent one, September 1st, right here at Gulfstream, 4 furlongs and 46 flat. And every single work on her tab has been impressive. Her sire, Discreetly Mine, is about 13% with 2-year-olds in the past 5 years. The Dam won 3 times sprinting on the dirt. She's going to be sprinting here today. I think that there's quite a few things pedigree-wise to like about her. So I took a little bit of a chance and put her on top, but I did use the 2 Comeback Moment on my ticket as well from Efren Loza Jr., who's much more well-known with first-time starters. I want to give you a stat on trainer Efren Loza Jr. in the past 5 years with 2-year-old first-time starters. 8 for 21, 38% win, 17 for 21, 81% of the time in the money, a 377 ROI. So from the statistic point of view, this horse definitely looks like one you can't leave out.
I hate the fact that Formulator is so readily available to our fans now, and I mean that in an endearing way, because I've been on the Efren Loza Jr. bandwagon since probably the start of Formulator, and he's so good first time out. And the other thing about him is he only puts his horses in races that they can win. Now, that's a good news and bad news scenario all at the same time. We're debuting on the bottom. The two horses we're talking about have a pretty good amount of good things to say about. The 3 has good works. The 2 just comes from a good barn, but they're both in really cheap. Makes you wonder if there's not some issues involved.
It certainly makes you ask a few questions, which unfortunately those we won't be able to answer until they do get out onto the racetrack. So from that work tab, from that paper side of things, these two definitely look to be the logical ones.
Let's turn now to the 5th race. We're on the turf for race number 5, $8,000 the claiming price. A non-winners to 2 event. Scratch number 3, Joey Sixpack. Rider change on number 8, Diascuri to Amisael Jaramillo. I like the outside horse in here. I see that you used him second behind the horse who has got a problem finishing second, number 6, Time Out of Mind.
Well, I actually did flip-flop this. I meant to have the 8 Diascuri on top with the second Time Out of Mind in second because he does have a problem finishing second. He's just not a horse that I trust in here. I had some questions about him beforehand. I actually had some interest in the 3 Joey Sixpack to spice things up, trying the turf for the first time in here. He's a scratch as well, so I think that the 4 horses that I'm left with on my ticket are 4 very interesting ones. As I mentioned, especially with the jockey change to Amisael Jaramillo on the number 8, Diascuri, who's cutting back to the 5 furlong distance after 2 7.5 furlongs. He's got that early speed. Time Out of Mind is one that definitely likes to be on the front end. Whenever he's headed, whenever he is met with some sort of challenge, when a horse goes with him, he just ends up getting beat. Or if there's a horse that's out in front as well, he just can't get by. He seems to be stuck in second gear. I use the word trust. He's not a horse that I trust in here. I have faith in Amisael Jaramillo, who, even with some speedy horses, does a really good job of saving something from the end.
Yeah, well, Diascuri's on the cutback, so he has enough tactical speed to get in position, but he doesn't want to hook Radamel or Time Out of Mind. I don't think that's the plan. With an outside gate, I think the options are to try to sit third, get in front of some of the other horses in this race, and I think he trips out perfect. I don't think you're going to get anywhere close to 6-1, but I think he's the right horse.
I agree, and I use the number 1 Radamel, who's a first-time gelding. Didn't show any speed last time, got checked. He usually does show some early zip. He's coming from the rail this time. He might be one to go out front with Time Out of Mind, challenge him once again, and Diascuri sits right behind.
Well, the 7 El Senor de los Cielos made the fringe of your ticket. I think that's a good idea. He'll be a victim of the pace, but this horse he can run when he puts his mind to business. He's not felt like it the last couple times, including a problem on the main track last time. He would be a long shot possibility in race number 5.
He's a long shot for sure. Antonio Sano has 2. He has Time Out of Mind and El Senor de los Cielos. If somebody's going to close, it might be the man from the sky.
Is that what that means? Cool. Let's turn now to race number 6 on the program. I learned something today. Race 6,
man in the sky.
to start the 50-cent late pick 4. I'm going to use that some sort of time when he wins again because he'll be coming from the clouds. Got it? Scratch number 7, Leticol, a field of 6 in race number 6. And Leticol was expected to go favorite on a major class drop. This opens this race up to a horse like number 6, Peace Militant, who's coming in from lifetime categories, and a horse like 3, Battleback John, who really needs to wake up. The number 1, How About We, probably the right horse.
I really think he's going to improve off of that last effort. He finished a very good second when moving back over from the turf to the dirt. Lane Luzzy was in the saddle that day. He actually ended up losing his whip, still managed to have this horse only beaten by a length and 3/4 behind Double Judge. I think it was a very solid performance. I think his dirt races are relatively consistent and relatively solid, and he's got Edgar Zayas in the saddle today, Jenna Antonucci, the trainer.
No speed in here. None. 0. Zilch. Whoever makes the lead will have a tactical advantage from the word go. If you're Carlos Hernandez, you might want to send Battleback John because he has enough tactical speed to be competitive against this field. I think he's a sneaky horse in this race.
He does. He showed some speed in a few of his recent races, primarily on the turf. He showed a lot more early zip. He ended up fading there, but he can be a bit more forwardly placed today, and I definitely think that he will be. He's dropping a bit in class as well. I think this is the right spot for him.
Glotone is interesting to me. He's 15-1 on the morning line, again, trying to find speed. He chased a 44-second half mile 2 starts ago and did it while only 2.5 lengths off of off-duty. Off-duty freaked that day, so I wouldn't read too much into that. But Glotone may be upset possibility. I really don't know.
He had a little bit of a price on him, too, potentially.
Seventh race on the program, the start of the $1 late pick 3, an $8,000 claiming race on turf. We have 2 scratches here. Scratch number 3, Silent Admirer. Scratch number 8, No Calcetines, a field of 7. I thought this race was tough because anybody who can hang their hat on a horse in here, I can go after them, and vice versa. I could tell you who I liked, and you could go after me. So.
Yeah, this is definitely a tough race. Certainly a bit of a puzzle in here. I landed on the number 4, Heart Doctor, who finished 3rd last time out, going 7.5 on the turf with Luca Panici. Luca's going to stay in the saddle. He was beaten just by a length and a quarter. Gelfenstein wired the field that day. Bridal's Holiday ran solidly as well. And I think that that's going to be, that was actually the 3rd race in a row of consistent performances. I just think that he's going to be potentially the one to improve the most off of his last effort.
Can't argue with that. Let me dissect the pace here. Key scratch of the number 8, No Calcetines, who usually shows some form of tactical speed. Now there's a huge rider's change on number 7, Union Vow, from John Cruz to Juan Leyva. That's huge in one sense. It's a tactical difference. Leyva doesn't send. Panici doesn't send. There are guys like Eddie Nunez. They don't send their horses to the lead. I think Union Vow doesn't make the lead. Instead, I think the outside horse, number 9, Love Dakota Sky, on the stretch out here today under Edgar Zayas. This horse will try to cross and clear. Can this horse go 2 turns? I don't know. Will the horse be in front? Absolutely.
That was the question mark for me. I didn't think he was going to be able to sustain 2 turns and had a hard time putting him on top because of that. But I do think he might be able to sustain enough to get an in-the-money finish. I used the number 7, Union Vow, who I agree might be a little bit less forwardly placed than before, but I do think that he'll be somewhat up there part of the scenario. Heart Doctor does have some speed, even if Panici doesn't necessarily send.
Yeah, he could put himself in a good spot early talking about Heart Doctor. I have to at least mention the fact that Sneaky Kitten makes a huge rider switch today to jockey Jonathan Gonzalez. You have to go 3 and 4 starts back to find an effort that would make him competitive, but the price will be right if you're trying to dig a little bit in the first leg of the late pick 3. We'll turn now to the 8th race, first half of the late daily double. Tough race, maidens of the special weight variety going 5.5 furlongs. These are 2-year-old fillies. Field of 7 signed on in this race. And in this race, I felt like there was a lot of different ways to go. The only horse who has a race is number 7, Later. It wasn't that great a race. Which first-time starter did you go with? Oh, no, you didn't. You went with Later.
I went with the one with experience. And yes, it was not the most solid race. I think that she made a little bit of a bid in there. You see that she was beaten by 17 lengths. The winner, She's Got the Look, was a very impressive performer from Ralph Nix. She won by more than 6 lengths that day. There was a dead heat for second. I think you could just maybe chalk it up to inexperience for this horse. Kathleen O'Connell is the trainer. She does very well with her 2-year-olds. They always come in fit and ready to run. Yes, that was not the most impressive debut, but it might have been an educational one more than anything.
One thing to note, you left out the 1. She's Got the Look won by 16.
16.
So that means that the number 7 Later really only got to beat a length and a half behind everybody else. So it's actually a deceptively good race when you consider that. Also the fact that she chased the eventual winner through a 44-second half mile.
Yeah, and like I said, I think that she was pretty educationally learned a lot in that race. I also used the number 5, Touch of Quality, another one who just has a very solid work tab coming into today, maybe hints at some sort of ability. I like to see Edgar Zayas in the saddle first time out. Has a sibling that won at 2, is related to a With Excellence. That's the horse that won at 2, earned more than $100,000. So maybe there is something in the family that's got some ability to win early.
Well, the Dan Pita barn, when he wins 2-year-old races in South Florida, he does it with horses that show tactical speed. In fact, this horse has shown that in the morning that she's going to have some speed. 47-2 out of the gate tells me she won't be far away early. And if Later actually sets the tone, maybe Touch of Quality can land a stalking roll. That's probably not optimum. If you're Zayas, you want the lead from the and move over to the inside.
Also used the number 4, Nola Fashion, from Leo Gabriel and Luca Panici. And another one, lots of forks, 12 forks on the tab. Looks like this horse has been getting ready for her debut for a while.
Nola Fashion will not be forwardly placed just based on the fact that Panici rides. However, Panici rode a first-time starter yesterday and came from the back to win, so that doesn't hurt your chances. It's just a tactical understanding, if you will, that Panici's not going to send. We go now to the ninth and final race. The ninth and final race is on turf at 1 mile. These are maidens in for a $50,000 price tag. Scratch number 4, Bill's Legacy, a field of 8 in this race. We do have some horses with two-turn experience and horses that I think will be better for their two-turn experience today, including the 3, Sweet Abdication, and the 9, Divine Paradise.
Well, I laid it on the number 2, Pop's Irish Rose, who's dropping into maiden claiming company for the first time. It debuted in special weight company. Was a little bit wide, didn't have the cleanest of trips in that race. Luca Panici was in the saddle there. He's going to stay aboard today. She was beaten by 4 lengths in there. I think that the drop in class plus that two-turn experience, she ran a mile on the turf, so she has the two-turn experience, there. And I just think with the drop, she might be able to have just a little bit of an edge there.
Well, the horse who ended up being second in that race, Silver Diva, crossed the wire second in her next race, but was put up to the victory because the third place horse Backstage won that race, was DQ'd, then came back and won outright again. So it certainly was a useful effort, and I like to see the Sunshine Thoroughbred Corporation colors. That sends me back to the great Wirtz. They campaigned him in here in South Florida. I just had to get that in. If anybody from Sunshine Thoroughbred's watching, you have a Wirtz fan on stage right now.
I love it. Well, you mentioned the number 3, Sweet Abdication, who I think will be an interesting one after a very impressive turf debut.
Yeah, let's take a look at it. I don't know how impressive it was, but it was intriguing anyway. Sweet Abdication was on the engine for jockey Marcos Meneses, drifted off the corner. The eventual winner, Shack Up, is going to get inside, and at this point, Shack Up is going to pull away, but Sweet Abdication drifting wide. To me, I thought she was tired. I thought that that's why she was drifting. She'd never been two-turned. She'd never been on turf. But Meneses straightens her back up. She makes her rebid at Shack Up. Now, maybe Shack Up's tired also. I mean, you can see the tail swishing going on, but Sweet Abdication's going to be well clear of Divine Paradise, who's going to be third in that race. Divine Paradise, the 9 horse in here. Sweet Abdication, the 1 horse that day. So I thought there was something to be said for those two last race.
Well, because of the way that she finished up, that's why I do think it was impressive. She veered a little bit. Yes, she drifted. That was her first time on the turf, her first time going 2 turns. You mentioned that Meneses straightened her out, and I thought that once she got straight, she ran very solidly behind the leader in there, and she's certainly going to be one to watch in here off of that effort. Now she's got a turf race under her belt there. The number 7, Lancaster, looks to be an interesting one. Has a 7.5 on the turf. It was a good turf in her debut. She was beaten about 5.5 lengths, but she managed to finish second. She was best of the rest. Larry Bates is the trainer. I want to give you a stat on trainer Larry Bates. In the past 5 years with maiden claimers on the turf, 12 for 112, just 11% win, but pretty solid in the money. And that's really what I'm looking at in here, 35 for 112, 31%, and still a positive ROI of 329. I think that this horse is definitely eligible to get a piece.
Well, this daughter of English Channel definitely got some education in her debut. It wasn't a smooth run. They asked her to start, stop, and start and stop, and then keep going again under Alvaro Doniz. She got something out of that race, that I can promise you.
And you mentioned the number 9, Divine Paradise, who used as well. We saw her in there. She had the 1 start so far. She came from very far back to finish 3rd.
Well, she certainly has a license to improve. It's never easy to win going around 2 turns in your debut, let alone as a 2-year-old. So Divine Paradise has that license to improve here. Edgard Zayas with a return call.
And I just, again, this is a really nice race to close out the card here. I think it's a very nice group of fillies on the turf and a solid maiden claiming.
Well, we're now 31 minutes away from our opening contest on this Friday afternoon program. In case you'll take a brief timeout, I'll be back momentarily with a reprise of the scratches and changes. We thank you for joining us on Gulfstream today. Have a great afternoon and good luck today.
What do I love about horse racing? Everything.